Hello, my name is Eldfinnr,
I'm seventh. Stupid vent. I'm seventh ace.
and we are the production team with Noble Diplomacy Academy. And today we are going to be watching Moscow von Ruslander show us how to start as Denmark.
The god of Diplo.
I think it's safe to say that Moscow, along with the Infinity team, the two separately, are probably Battle.net's greatest diplomacy map makers. I really don't think there's any qualifications needed. They're both great, and Moscow has done some truly amazing maps.
Yeah, he's got that. At this point, it's now Public Battle of Britain, which is great.
Yep, so at the very beginning, Moscow is moving his dropships to his main base in Copenhagen, and he's also upgrading air weapons. He's going to start building Valkyries here pretty soon.
Voice cut out there.
Main base, he's making... Oh, I'm sorry. Over his main base, he's making some SCVs, and he is dropping his first few units into Sweden. 2 fire bats and a tank. Unfortunately, he did lose his dropship, but really dropping on Sweden, southern Sweden, it's really impossible to keep a hold of that dropship, so you have to be prepared for that sacrifice.
Yeah, I know a lot of the time I'm all protective of my units, never wanting the dropships to die, so I won't drop them into 3 turrets, even if it is for the better.
Yeah, he was very quick about it, and he did manage to get all of his units out, which was definitely really good for him. A lot of times when sending a dropship into a situation like that, the dropship dies before unloading all the units, and that's what's really unfortunate. Losing the dropship can be expected, but you definitely do want to get all your units out. So he's immediately starting production in Sweden. He's definitely going to be concentrating on taking this region of the map.
Yeah, he expands so fast, it's kind of scary. I think I've played against him once and got utterly dominated.
Also, up here in the top left, you can see that he immediately began upgrading Zerg melee and Zerg armor. And so it clearly shows us that he's going to be focusing on using those Swedish guards. Probably for the majority of the game, but at least definitely for expanding the first 4, 5, 6 turns.
Yeah, and seeing the video already, just as a viewer note, the video and the audio is not recorded at the same time. The video is taken at this point about about an hour ago with 7 other people in the game. So what you're not going to see is his building production and his upgrade production. We're watching it in a replay right now, so we get to see all this and can tell you what's going on. But in the video, you're not going to be able to see that.
7 Sweden. If you were watching, Moscow did brute force its way into or past this cannon so you could take control of the city. Just as a side note, if some of you that are watching this would prefer not to lose units that way, it is possible to snipe that pylon with 1, maybe 2 tanks. You just have to be really careful and control your units very precisely. But I believe that the reason Moscow decided not to do that is because it simply does take too long. Brute forcing does get the job done faster, it's just a little bit more expensive. So he's taking that city, and he's about to prepare an attack on Sweden's capital using mostly Marines because they are cheap. And he's sending his tank and a couple firebats up there. And over here on the left in the North Sea, while he's taking that capital, he did start taking the islands in the North Sea. And those are always really important for Denmark to take because there's a lot of flying in between your 2 bases, and it's very frustrating to have to control them so precisely to get between those turrets. It's really better to just take them out and get the income. And you can also see he has started production of his Valkyries, and he has that 1 weapon upgrade.
Yeah, I saw a lot of good.
Alright, so Moscow,
Go ahead.
go ahead. No, you.
Okay. uh, Moscow has really good micro from what I've seen. His tanks twice. About a minute ago, you saw when he pulled his tanks in. He had three of them attacking the cannon, and then as soon as it got to 50, aka one shot, he would pop it back out and back in, so the cannon would pick a new target. It's great micro, and sorry if the video isn't the greatest, because uh, Moscow's actions per minute were crazy for a Diplo game. Just for the very first few stages, he was all over the map. It was great.
Yeah, definitely when you're using expensive units like tanks, no matter whether you're Morocco, where your tanks are actually heroes, or if you're any other country just using them to expand. Um, if you're gonna brute force a cannon or anything else, you definitely wanna do as much micro as you're able to do. And as soon as the tank starts getting low on health, you want to pull that back, or use science vessels with defense matrix. There's any number of techniques you can use to protect your units in this game, and it's definitely worthwhile to use these sort of things.
Yeah, vessels add another 6 hits onto cannons. And I'm going to point out that upgrades are also really important at the very beginning because of the unit's low damage and the fact that the computer has 5 plasma shield.
Yeah, upgrades are important, but something to remember is you don't want to start upgrading too many different kinds of units. Moscow is focusing a lot on his Zerg upgrades. He's got one done already, and he is not actually working on a second one, but I'm sure he will as soon as he has the resources next turn. But we don't want to be doing that along with Terran mech and Terran infantry, because eventually it just gets too expensive, especially in the early game when you don't have a lot of resources coming in yet. So you want to focus on one, maybe two.
Yeah, I'd even recommend getting. Personally, I'm not the Diplo Pro here, but I'd recommend one Terran infantry if you can spare the money because it's only 100 minerals to start, and it doesn't. It adds an extra point of damage, which increases cannon damage that Marines do to by 50% from 2 to 3. So that really helps.
Yeah, taking the first upgrade or two for the units you're using to expand, like tanks or Marines. If you're using a bunch of Marines, it can definitely be worthwhile, especially if you already have the infrastructure in place to start those upgrades.
Yeah, and there are the Zergling right there. In Denmark, he's got, 4 or 5 of them already with an upgrade. So that's really good.
Actually, it looks like there's about 10. You just can't see them all underneath that science lab. But the nice thing about the Swedish guards is you do get 2 for every medic you build. And for any of you wondering, they are in fact significantly better than the Austrians in terms of starting damage, starting armor, and they start with the speed attack upgrade. And let me tell you, that makes all the difference. Really, the biggest reason that the Austrians are just terrible units is because they don't have that speed upgrade. And once if a player has the gas to make that upgrade, those units can be useful, especially if they're upgraded, because that 3 base damage does kind of suck.
Yeah, and they also, Austrians, if you get stuck with them to start, they do 3 damage? So you have to get 3 or 4 upgrades